friends, welcome to today's daily video devotional. I'm reading today from the book of Ezekiel, the first chapter, starting at verse 1 and then skipping around a little bit. In the 13th year, on the 5th day of the 4th month, I was with the exiles at the Shebar River when the heavens opened up and I saw visions of God. As I walked, suddenly a driving storm came out of the north, a great cloud flashing fire with brightness all around. At its center, in the middle of the fire, there was something like a gleaming amber. And inside that were forms of 4 living creatures. This was what they looked like. Each had the form of a human being, though each had 4 faces and 4 wings. Their feet looked like proper feet, but the soles of their feet were like calves' hooves, and they shone like burnished bronze. Human hands were under their wings on all 4 sides. All 4 creatures had faces and wings, and their wings touched each other's wings. When they moved, they each went straight out ahead without turning. As for the form of their faces, each of the 4 had a human face with a lion's face on the right and a bull's face on the left, and also an eagle's face. It goes on with Ezekiel's description of this vision that he had. Now, as you're hearing that, you might think, boy, that sounds a lot like what Revelation is. Well, the 2 books are actually in kind of the same class, right? They're both what we call apocalyptic literature, right? Not like Apocalypse Now with Martin Sheen. A different meaning behind that. And what they do is they provide for us visions. Now, one of the things that we see in these visions, pardon the pun, is that like Revelation, these are visions that are specific to the individual. In Revelation, it's specific to John. In Ezekiel, it's specific to, well, Ezekiel. We don't get the sense that anyone else is seeing this, except for Ezekiel. He's having this vision that God is giving to him, and as we hear the description, it sounds bizarre. But it doesn't have to make sense to us. It somehow makes sense to Ezekiel. And that's where the devotion comes in. I've never had this kind of experience. I've never had this vivid of a vision from God. I've certainly never had this bizarre of a vision from God. I know folks who have had visions before, who feel as though they've seen angels and share stories of seeing a form of Jesus. That's not something I've experienced. Now, at first thought, we might think, well, what's wrong with me? Maybe you're looking at the screen thinking, well, what's wrong with you? Nothing's wrong. It's just we all experience God differently. Think about other characters in the Bible, how they have perceived God. I think about Jacob, who wrestled with what he believed was a man and later discovers is a messenger of God. He wrestles with God. That's how he perceived God. That's how God talked to him, shared with him, taught him. It was this weird encounter with who Jacob thought was a person. I think about other characters in the Bible who heard God. Moses in a burning bush heard God. Mary had a conversation with the angel Gabriel. Paul, a shining light. We all experience God differently. So just because you don't have the burning bush, just because Gabriel doesn't come to you, just because maybe you're not seeing these 4 winged angels out of an amber-like glow within a burning cloud, doesn't mean that you're not experiencing God. It doesn't mean that God's not revealing God's very self to you. What it means is that God has designed you to hear and to know God differently. What an amazing gift that is. And so how you hear and understand and feel God is how you feel, know, and understand God. God designed you in that way. So why can't we always hear, feel, and know God? Why does it feel that way? Why is it that we suddenly say, can't I just have my burning bush? Can't I just have my vision like Ezekiel and John? I think the problem is we are so focused. We have tuned our eyesight, our ears, our hearts, our senses to what we think God should sound like, look like, be like. When really God has given us a different frequency. And so we have to adjust the dials and be open to how God may be speaking to us. For me, one of the ways I've discovered that God speaks to me is through daydreaming. Daydreaming about possibilities and what can be and what might be. Daydreams about scenarios of ministry or of caring or of hospitality. And then I know it becomes part of my call when I can't stop daydreaming about it. Maybe that's the same for you. Maybe not. How does God reveal God's self to you? How do you hear God? How do you feel God? Is it through song? Is it through conversations with others? Is it through a silent prayer that gives God time to speak to you through your conscience? However it is, may we open our ears, our hearts, our eyes, and our minds and see God's revelation before us. Amen.